Review embargo for Dragon Age the Veilguard has officially lifted, and now there's lots of new and interesting information being released about the game. One of the more common critiques seems to be with the dialogue. Some examples of that can be seen with this character Tosh.
Jathan said to eat the fruit before it spoils.
I like the cookies better.
Everyone likes the cookies better.
I'll eat the fruit.
God.
Thank you, Avatash.
Panahedan. I'll see you soon.
So, the Dragon Hunter has a softer side.
The Kyun says you take care of people.
So, you're a little Kunari, a little Rivani, and a little dragon?
Yeah?
I get that.
Come on. I should tell my mother how Karash is doing.
You know, I've been playing Metaphor off stream. And there's a really big difference in the dialogue in Metaphor versus this game.
On top of people
There's a really
criticizing
big
the awkward
difference.
dialogue and the voice acting, many would also point out that pop-up on the left-hand side. You can see it reads, "You've chosen to encourage Tosh by focusing on the benefits of a multicultural background." For example, one commenter would say, "It's totally fine to believe that multiculturalism is a good thing, but to feel that it needs to be an actual plot point spelled out in plain writing, taking place within a dark fantasy video game concerning an epic tale of good versus evil, then it's nothing more than literal politics being shoved down our throats. It's also more evidence of how a racially diverse cast equal entire thing is going to be loaded with preachy, on-the-nose social lecturing. It's pretty..."
You know what I think? I think that games like Metal Gear Solid, games like Gears of War, games like Metaphor ReFantazio, games like Final Fantasy XIV prove more than anything that people in fact love stories that have parallels to real life and real life politics. I don't think any of that is even true. I think the real problem is that these people can't write a story for shit. And the way that they communicate these ideas are one-dimensional, tropey, and patronizing. If you look at the writing in a bunch of other contexts, it's also bad. So when the writing is bad in every context that we've seen, how are we going to isolate the context of the woke dialogue and say that it's bad because it's woke? No. I think that the bad woke dialogue is simply a manifestation of bad writing across the entire game. Think about how many games do an incredibly respectful and non-patronizing job at exploring topics like racism, like like social politics, like the different like virtues of like strength versus wisdom. It's Metaphors, that's the one I'm playing a lot now, right? So like that's the main one that's in my head. But these are the exact same topics, but they're just being told in a way that's not insulting to the intelligence of the person who's watching the game. Or playing the game, excuse me.
pretty telling when companies like this are unable to make a diverse game, without also making it feel so shallow and fake. After all, there's been many games that have actually...
And the entire thing is shallow and fake, not just the woke content. The entire thing
included a very diverse cast of characters. And it turns out when the games aren't so preachy about the whole thing, it comes off much more natural. And those games often find far more success. Another clip that's going viral in gaming circles is this one.
I'm from Ravane.
I haven't seen this
Not
one.
like I follow the Kyun.
You've got the arm ropes.
Sure. I wear a lot of stuff. You don't get to tell me who I am.
Yeah, Mom. Yeah, I'll wear wherever the hell I want. I'm in 8th grade now. I don't believe in Jesus. Get out of my room. You don't know me.
Doesn't matter anyway. The Antom don't follow the Qun either.
Oh, God.
Not anymore.
A Dragon Age fan, or perhaps now an ex-Dragon Age fan, would say, "Man, that second clip makes me mad. The Qun is what made the Qunari so interesting." Another post reading, "Nothing screams a fantasy world more than modern-day gender lingo. How did gaming get here?" The provided screenshot shows Tosh saying, "Non-binary, I just said. I'm going to use they instead of she from now on." Back to the topic of the review embargo, as well as what some people are saying about the reviews. Around 6 hours ago, Fextra posted a very interesting video about
we
the game.
watched this the
He
other
opens by
day.
talking about their history of covering Dragon Age content, including saving the BioWare forums and being in contact.
I've seen a lot of discourse surrounding my coverage of this topic, and all of the discourse around my coverage of the topic, I'm fairly certain that every person who's made an angry tweet about it, I don't think that a single one of them actually watched the video. Because like all the comments were like, "Oh, he's just saying it's woke. Oh, it's because it's woke." I don't know. Maybe you can go to like the video transcription. I'd be surprised if woke was in there more than one time, and probably the one time it's in there, it's probably me saying this isn't because it's woke. It had literally nothing to do with that. But people are losing their minds over that video. Never even mentioned, I didn't even talk about that. It wasn't even a point. It had nothing to do with it.
Constant communication with EA and BioWare for years. EA had also invited them to attend the official Veilguard preview event back in September.
Right.
And after attending the event and playing the game there, they made their impressions video. In their preview video, they were essentially cautiously optimistic, enjoying some things about Veilguard, but also critiquing other things like the character designs and models.
In general, it was a pretty positive impression of the video, and I want to play for you the closing audio from that video right now so you can see what we told our audience at the end of that video. I still have issues with the game, mainly that I don't like the UI and that the dialogues didn't seem to be on par with what you could get in other story-focused games.
There's actually dialogue in the game about mother pressuring a non-binary character to wear a dress, so you were spot on. But if they were non-binary, I mean, like, there's like kilts in like Scottish culture already. Like, it's just sad. It's really just sad. Tread lightly. Well, no, I know that. Like, my neighbor wears a kilt sometimes. I've seen him. Walking around a kilt. I've seen it multiple times. Like, it's for sure.
In the last decade, and that I didn't yet get a point where I felt a bond or much interest with my companions who were integral to the story. It's funny that I have pretty much been playing these games for the story and getting through the combat, but I may actually be playing the Veilguard to enjoy the combat and get through the story to see the end. How everything works together and progresses into a full game remains to be seen, and there were several big and impactful events that I cannot discuss, but so far my opinion on this has become more positive, and I would like to urge anyone who loves CRPGs to hang in there and wait for reviews and not write the game off just yet.
The point he's making is that their first impressions video was extremely mild, and some people even said that if anything, they were being too positive about the game. And yet it seems like that very impressions video actually upset EA, as after that video was released, they entirely ceased communications with Fextra. Fextra then reached out to other contacts to try and figure out what was going on, and they found out that them and apparently some other creators as well were getting fake assurances from EA that they would be given a code for the game to access it early in order to put out an early review. It turns out that that wasn't the case, as the codes never came, and the communications continued to cease. This is
It's impossible to be certain that the communication like shutdown was as a result of the review, but it does seem to be it is a bad correlation to draw that a number of people who after the preview event expressed criticism and skepticism towards the game, that all three of those people did not receive codes to review the game. That is extremely concerning. Now, does that Does that guarantee that that's what happened? It does not. But that's 3 points on a graph, and it makes a pretty straight line.
Similar to the situation that we discussed just the other day regarding Wolfhard FPS. Interestingly enough, a Spanish trader had reported that she actually lied to BioWare, telling them that she's non-binary. And believe it or not, she actually did receive a code. Someone had responded to her tweet in the included images, saying 0 time played seemed a little sus though, to which she responded with a clown emoji and showed that she actually now has an hour and a half played, proving that she does indeed have access to the game before its official release. Apparently, BioWare had actually retaliated against her over this entire situation, as she showed evidence that she had received a DMCA strike, going on to say that the tweet that was hit was the one where she was talking about receiving that code from BioWare. However, she went on to appeal the strike, Twitter seemingly taking her side and releasing her account. Now returning to Fextra Life.
What the fuck is going on? That's so confusing. I wonder what... Like, it's such a weird situation. I wonder what's real.
In the context of their most recent video on Veilguard, the one where he talks about not receiving a code to get that early review out, well, he goes on to make a very compelling argument about why EA is operating in such a manner, basically claiming that this is a way for them to manipulate the upcoming reviews and ensure that most of the early reviews are going to be positive ones. This would then also allow them to manipulate the sentiment around the...
Which, to be fair, this is one thing, I'll say it again, and again, we cannot be sure about this, but when coincidence and personal gain converge, your skepticism goggles should be on. Oftentimes, that convergence is not a coincidence. You just accidentally do something that's in your benefit. Of course, that happens sometimes, but that should not be where you start from.
Game, making it seem overly positive around the time of release, with the ultimate goal of having boosted sales.
Because you guys told us in no uncertain terms that you're waiting for reviews.
Of course.
You're about to get a bunch of reviews that have been curated by the publisher for their likelihood of being extremely positive in an attempt to manipulate your view of Dragon Age: The Veilguard. They want you to think there is a universal consensus that the game is amazing, thereby convincing you that you should try it, but also influencing future review scores, as it's difficult to be the outlier. So if you see a bunch of...
You don't want to be the guy that gives it a 3 when everybody else gives it a 7, an 8, or a 9. You don't want to be that person, because if you are, now you could be the one that, like, you're not playing ball, you're not playing on the game.
Positive review scores come out today. Think about all the people that are going to be playing afterward and how much pressure they're going to feel. Give the game a slightly better score than they would have given it, just to avoid maybe some undue pressure.
I already talked about this the other day.
Sometimes that doesn't even happen consciously. It's just done subconsciously. And I want to be very clear here that I don't think that the press and creators publishing their videos early are going to be lying. However, these reviewers have been screened to maximize the chances that you're seeing positive reviews. There will probably be some exceptions, of course. I don't think everyone's going to give the game a positive review. But EA is banking that those are few and far between.
They're playing on probabilities.
In an attempt
to
keep the aggregate score of the game high.
Once again, I do think he's making a very compelling argument as to the potential logic behind EA's actions. However, I myself am also a bit more cynical, it seems. While I'm sure that there are going to be people who genuinely do enjoy the game, including some who are reviewing it, I absolutely do think that there are going to be some people who are lying about just how much they enjoyed the game. It goes without saying that we can call such people shills. I'd also like to go back to Wolfhard FPS's tweet once again, but here's why. Some of the responses to it are extremely amusing and contradict some of the very reasonable logic that we already talked about analyzing the entire situation. For example, this tweet reading, "My dude, I get that it sucks that you and others didn't get codes, but suggesting that's because you weren't a big..."
I feel like I've never read a tweet that starts with "my dude" that wasn't patronizing and obnoxious. And I feel like that still remains to be the case.
Fan of the game is freaking ridiculous, and leaving this post up is just going to give the chuds more brain-dead reasons to attack the game, devs, and fans alike, because
it's crazy to me how people draw these culture war battle lines, and then it makes it impossible for them to see any level of gray area or nuance inside of a conversation. So, what did chuds have to do with this? It doesn't have anything to do with the content of the game. It's about making sure everybody can get a review code so the people that want to review the game for their audience can give their audience their fair take on the game. It has nothing to do with like the gender of the people that are doing it. It has nothing to do with like what the content of the game is or what the social media stuff. It's just has nothing to do with it. It's completely it's a completely separate issue.
Apparently analyzing a situation where corporations may be operating in shady manners and analyzing the logic behind such actions.
You're looking at it through the lens of culture war, and that's not, and everything isn't about that. That's not the point.
Their drive to manipulate public sentiment.
This is a meta-level problem inside of journalism, enough to the point to where there's a term for it by Access Journalism. And beyond that, this is an entire, like there was the whole Gamergate thing that happened. That was this was one of the heads of that Hydra. And on top of that, it is a problem with game media too. It's crazy how this is even a conversation.
Well, doing that just makes you a chud. Once again, like I said yesterday, there's this weird crossover with some of the largest bootlickers on the internet, some of the biggest corporate defenders out there, simultaneously LARPing as if they're wonderful activists. Another commonly shared sentiment between Dragon Age fans is that Veilguard just doesn't feel like a Dragon Age game, and people are often wondering what happened to BioWare. I myself haven't played that many BioWare games. However, one of my favorite PC games of all time, and one that helped inspire my love for PC gaming, is in fact the original Neverwinter Nights. So I found this particular part of Mr. Matty Plays video to be very interesting.
Let's get into it, starting with the narrative. This is what I have the most to say about when it comes to the game itself, because it's where I think most of the problems in Dragon Age the Veilguard
is that I thought that was Sonichu. Never mind.
Tonally, this is just not a Dragon Age game. There's no other way to put it for me. In writing, in music, in visuals, in character work, there were many points throughout my review process where I felt my hands were on an entirely different IP. Now, before I go forward, I just want to frame my criticism a little bit more here.
The dude leaked footage and yeah, this guy fucked up with the NDA thing. He did. Yeah, big mistake on his part. Shouldn't have done that.
In that I have been a lifelong BioWare
Mistakes
fan.
happen,
My favorite game of all time is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which is a 2003 RPG from BioWare. But also, they have made games, as you know, like Mass Effect, like Dragon Age Origins. But I have also not fooled myself that the people who made those games I adore so much are no longer at the company, or at least most of them are.
This is an unfortunate realization that many of us are having with companies like BioWare, and of course also companies like Bethesda, specifically with BioWare and Veilguard. It seems like they're more intent on pushing out their old fans, and instead trying to find a new group of fans, a more modern group of fans, as these corpos like to say. Ultimately, while many of the reviews coming out today are overly optimistic and positive about the game, there are still some reviews that are much more critical, and as some would say, much more real about their opinions. As mentioned, please consider checking out Mr. Matty Plays video, which I'll link in the description. Another review that seems very interesting, and yet one that I have not had the time to check out yet, is the one released by SkillUp, fittingly titled, I do not recommend Dragon Age the Veilguard. Based off some of the top comments though, it seems
every interaction sounds like HR is in the room is probably the most damning critique of this game any reviewer could have said. I feel like that's a lot of cases. Yeah.
Like one of the criticisms he might include in this video is one that we've talked about in prior videos on Veilguard, which is seemingly how the devs didn't want the player to be able to make any sort of evil choices, that they'd be too quote-unquote icky, so to speak, which was apparently some of the logic as to why they also removed the options for blood magic. As you know, many people and companies are currently attempting to prop this game up. However, given how terrible the situation looks, it seems highly unlikely.
Why can't you do blood magic? There's people cut themselves all the time.
That they'll succeed in the long run. Ultimately, of course, make up your own opinion on this game, but from what I've seen so far, it's not looking good at all. One of the most disturbing things, as we just talked about a moment ago, is how so many gaming companies like BioWare, etc., have willingly decided to go down this path. Let me know what you think about all this stuff in the comments. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and if you enjoyed my coverage, please consider liking and or subscribing to the channel. Appreciate ya, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hi,
Well, you know what I think? I think I should try it and play it for myself. I think that we should take a look at this game. I'll link you guys the video. Make sure to give it a like. And I think that we should actually give it a shot. I bought the game earlier. And I think that we need to start trying this game and play it ourselves.